You've heard this before. Follow your passion. It sounds noble. It sounds inspiring. But neuroscience has a different story to tell. Brain scans reveal something surprising. The feeling we call passion usually shows up after we have done something, not before. Your brain does not fall in love at first sight. It falls in love after the third date or the 100th repetition. This means that people might quit the very thing that could become their greatest passion, simply because they haven't stuck around long enough for the spark to catch fire. Today, I'm going to show you why passion is really post-rationalized curiosity and how understanding this can completely change the way you approach your career, your goals, and your growth. Let's build some passion, one step at a time. Hey, my name is Greg from Renew. I'm a master coach helping people, teams, and organizations to know, design, and become themselves. Renew and I are here to help you live a life where you have control. The most popular career advice in the world can be summed up in 3 words. Follow your passion. It is repeated in graduation speeches, written in self-help books, and shared on social media as a life mantra. The problem is that this advice makes passion sound like a starting point, as if it is a magical compass that will lead you to your perfect career purpose of life. In reality, research shows almost the opposite. Studies from Yale and US College of Singapore show that people who believe passion can be developed are more likely to persist through challenges, while those who believe it must be found fully formed often quit early. This suggests that passion often emerges after time and effort, not instantly at the start. It starts with mild curiosity or even with practical reasons such as job security, family expectations, or financial stability. The emotional intensity comes after you build the skill and receive recognition or rewards for your work. You can think of passion as a campfire. You don't begin with a roaring blaze. You begin with a few small sparks, a few small flames. The sparks are your curiosity. You add kindling through deliberate practice and persistence. Eventually, the fire catches. At that point, the warmth and light feel so natural that you may forget how cold and uncertain it felt at the start. So the real danger in the phrase follow your passion is that it leads novices to quit too early. If you expect passion to be immediate, you may abandon activities just before they become rewarding. This is exactly the trap we also have with New Year resolution, which you can learn more about here. Here is a question for you. What is the thing you will be most passionate about in your life is something you have not even started? As an exercise, take 3 activities that you currently find interesting but not yet exciting. Commit to engaging with each for at least 30 days, focusing on improving one specific skill in each. At the end of the period, notice if this spark of interest you had at the beginning grew into more enjoyment. If passion doesn't simply appear at the beginning, then where does it come from? The answer begins with how the brain responds to skill development and reward. The first step is curiosity. Curiosity is a low-cost, low-risk impulse that encourages exploration. You may try an activity for reasons as varied as enjoyment, social influence, career prospects, or simply novelty. At this stage, emotional attachment is often minimal. As you repeat the activity, something important begins to happen. According to self-determination theory developed by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, one of the core human psychological needs is competence. And much more about this theory right here. Each time your skill improves, the brain registers progress as a reward. Neuroimaging studies show that these moments of progress activate the ventral striatum and the medial prefrontal cortex, regions strongly involved in processing reward and personal value. This process is called affective tagging. The brain is literally marking the activity as meaningful and worth repeating. Over time, external reinforcement can strengthen this loop. Research in behavioral economics by Dan Ariely demonstrates that recognition, praise, and financial incentives amplify motivation by increasing dopamine release. This biological reinforcement becomes intertwined with your sense of identity. Angela Duckworth's work on greed, as well as Kay Anders Ericsson's research on deliberate practice, provide further evidence about this. Many high performers began in their field for practical reasons, not because they felt passion on day one. The emotional intensity came only after years of practice and achievement. In short, passion often emerges as the brain's narrative to explain the reinforcing loop between skill growth and reward. You feel it after the fact, not before. That's why I call it post-rationalized curiosity. A coaching question for you. If you stripped away the stories you tell yourself, which of your current skills would stand out as the most consistently rewarding for you? And as an exercise, map your top 5 skills. For each of those skills, write down the initial reason you started, the first moment you noticed improvement, and when you began to describe it as something that you feel a passion for. Not all your skills will fall in this category. And look for the time gap between starting and the emotional connection. You like this video so far? Then you know what to do. Also subscribe and put on notifications if you want to receive content like this every week. Check out other YouTube videos from famous YouTube channels in the video description. It's always good to take a look at a topic through multiple lenses. If you follow your passion, this assumes that passion is present from the very beginning, as we said before. For novices in any field, this creates an unrealistic benchmark. When you are in the early stages of learning, skill is low and effort is high. According to the competence motivation loop described in self-determination theory, low competence means lower intrinsic motivation. In plain terms, the activity feels awkward, mistakes are frequent, and rewards are scarce. If you expect passion to be immediate, this initial discomfort can feel like a proof that you are on the wrong path. And if you want strategies to stay committed when the early stages feel uncomfortable, then watch this one. Research by O'Keefe, Dweck, and Walton at Stanford and Yale and US College demonstrates that individuals with a fixed passion mindset are more likely to abandon activities at the first sign of difficulty. In contrast, those with a growth passion mindset are more willing to endure the early frustration because they believe passion will develop with time and effort. And back to Angela Duckworth's research on grit, which is further supporting this. Her findings show that long-term achievement is strongly tied to sustained effort through periods of low enjoyment. This means that if you quit during the early discomfort, you're very likely quitting before the competence reward loop has had a chance to ignite passion. A useful analogy comes from relationships. Long-term love rarely appears fully formed in the first meeting. It develops through repeated interaction, shared challenges, and mutual growth. Passion for a skill or career is similar. The deep connection comes after trust is built between you and the craft. This is why the advice should shift from follow your passion to stick to it for passion to ignite. I'm sure there is a better way to say that. If you understand that passion often lags behind effort, you can push through the early stages with passion instead of self-doubt. A question for you. What have you walked away from that might have become a passion if you had persisted long enough for competence to grow? And as an exercise, think of one pursuit you abandoned in the past 5 years. Write down the reasons you quit and then ask yourself honestly, did you quit because you truly disliked the activity or because you were not yet good enough to enjoy it? If passion is something that grows from curiosity and persistence, then the practical question becomes, how do you stay engaged long enough for that growth to happen? The first step is to begin with curiosity rather than waiting for passion to strike. Curiosity has a low barrier to entry. It does not require commitment, only openness. Research by Todd Kashdan on the psychology of curiosity shows that curiosity increases attention, deepens engagement, and creates more opportunities for reward experiences. This sets the stage for the competence reward loop to begin. The second step is to build small wins. Teresa Amabile's work on the progress principle demonstrates that even minor accomplishments significantly boost motivation. The third step is to create a reinforcing environment. Surround yourself with mentors, peers, or communities that celebrate effort and progress. Social reinforcement, as demonstrated in research by Albert Bandura on social learning theory, strengthens persistence by providing both accountability and emotional validation. The fourth step is to reframe your thinking. Instead of saying, I'm not passionate about this, try saying, I'm in the pre-passion stage. This reframing keeps the door open for emotional connection to develop over time. Fourth, give your curiosity a time horizon. Choose a skill or project and commit to it for at least 90 days without quitting. This is long enough for measurable skill development to occur. which allow the competence reward loop to trigger the effective tagging process in your brain. Think of passion as compound interest. The biggest emotional payoff comes after consistent investment over time. You may not see much in the early weeks, but given enough repetitions, the returns can be exponential. A coaching question for you. What is your compound interest project? The one skill or pursuit you are willing to invest in now for exponential emotional and professional returns later. And here is an exercise for you. Select one curiosity project. Write down one specific improvement you aim to achieve within the next 90 days. Track your progress weekly and note when you start to feel a greater emotional connection to the work. In a nutshell, stop waiting for passion to arrive before you begin. Start with curiosity. Build competence through deliberate effort. Surround yourself with the right environment and commit long enough for the spark to grow into something powerful. Because passion is not found, passion is grown. As Angela Duckworth reminds us, enthusiasm is common. Endurance is rare. Choose endurance and let passion meet you along the way. Deliberate effort means building strong habits. And if you're interested to learn about the master habit that unlocks all other habits, then check this out.